This is a modern PowerApps application I built and designed using Copilot. It contains a unique homepage UI as well as a customized data entry page. And the best part, Copilot handles most of the heavy lifting, making the app building process a whole lot easier. This video will be the first in my series where I will show you how to make the best use of Copilot as a PowerApps developer. In this first video, we will learn how to use Copilot to hasten development time as regards data model creation, initial app build, as well as customizations. In the second video, we will learn how to use Copilot to design unique interfaces for our different PowerApps projects. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into the video. For today's demo, I will be creating an app for staff to request items from the company warehouse. This can be something like replacement keyboards, projectors, cables, or just about anything the company warehouse has in stock. And as I said earlier, Copilot will be doing most of the heavy lifting. So now we're on the PowerApps homepage, and there should be a chat inbuilt here you can use to interact with Copilot. And as it says, you can use everyday words to describe your app's main function, and then Copilot uses generative AI to build your app and database and all of those for you. If you don't see this chat box here, you need to enable it within the admin center. To do that, just go to the admin center and then select your environment and go to the settings page. On the settings page, you have a product drop down here. Click this and go to the features page where you can enable Copilot. So you can enable Copilot here if it's your developer environment, or you can get your admin to get it done for you. By default, Copilot stores all components that it builds within the default solution. But in most cases, you want this to be stored in your own custom solution that is dedicated to your project. So to do that, you need to enable the preferred solution feature within admin center. So on the admin center, on the settings page of your environment, you just need to enable the preferred solution feature. And once that is enabled, on your solution page, you should have this bar here where you can set your preferred solution. So you just click manage and select whatever solution that you want Copilot to store all components in. So I've selected this solution and click apply, and then whatever components you build using Copilot, all of them will be stored within the solution. So let's build our app now. So I want to create an app for office staff to request replacement office items. Right away, you can see it has suggested a schema that will work well for the app that we want to build. It includes request ID, the requester, the item we want to order, the request date, and the status. So using Copilot, you can directly describe what you want to be changed. For instance, this status column, it has 3 options, and I want to add one more option to it. I can simply describe that in the Copilot chat. So I want to add a new status option fulfilled. And once you do that, if you check it again, you see it has added the fulfilled option as one of the choices for the column. I also want to add another column for fulfillment date. And right away, you see Copilot has added the column to our data model while accurately setting the column type. You can also change column types to match your needs. Another cool thing you can do is to ask questions as regards Copilot's capabilities. For example, I'll ask if auto-number columns are supported. Since it says yes, let's try to add one to serve as our ID column. And great, it has added it, so let's check it out. Apparently, it seems like auto-number columns are not yet supported as at the time of this recording, and Copilot is trolling us. Got it! Well, to be fair, it does say AI-generated content may be incorrect, so it's up to us to validate its replies. So let's ask it directly which column types are supported. So it seems that these are the column types that are supported as at the time of this recording. And Copilot was indeed trolling us before. Copilot, your trolling AI companion. Anyone, anywhere, any device. Download now. I'm joking, please don't sue me. So the next question that we will ask will be, what can we do if we need to add other column types? So we'll get to that shortly, but the good news is that for the first release wave of 2024, Microsoft has hinted at adding features for complex data to PowerApps Copilot. So currently, we can only create a single table at a time. But once that feature is live, we'll be able to create multiple tables and complex data models at the same time. And I will imagine that this means that it will support more column types, like the lookup column, which is vital to creating complex data models. So let's remove the unnecessary columns. And we also have the ability to change the table name. So I'll change that to item requests. And let's also add some more rows of data so we'll be able to test stuff properly. Yep. So now that we are done with our data model customizations, at least for now, let's create our app. Now, Copilot used the info that we provided and he created a fully functional app, which I must say looks really great for a generated app template. I mean, if you compare it to the 3-screen generated app templates, which has been there for almost a decade, I'm happy that we are finally getting upgrades as regards generated templates. Anyway, the app has our data in the gallery and it also has a form where we can add or edit data. And the cool thing about this is that they've made it fully responsive. So we can see the app in canvas mode, tablet mode, and even mobile mode. And the app also includes indicators for connectivity, and this is great for those building offline apps. So all in all, I think this template looks really cool and it can help save so much time for our builders. So let's save this and publish it. So now let's go back to what we put on hold. As we've seen, not all columns were supported when we were creating our data model. So what can we do? Since we've set our preferred solution earlier, we can go to that solution and modify its Dataverse content like normal. What I mean is that you can add new columns, remove existing columns, create relationships, and all of the things that you would normally do in Dataverse. The only difference is that Copilot has created most of the columns. So even if you're making any changes, it will just be a few things that we are changing. For example, requester name should actually be a lookup to the user table. So you can delete it and add the appropriate column type. But I'm just going to leave everything as is for now to keep things simple. The other part of the discussion is adding new tables. So since we can only create one table in a Copilot session, at least as at the time of this recording, you have to do multiple sessions for each table. And then you can come back and add any other info in Dataverse. Well, either do that or just create the table directly in Dataverse. Now, I also want my app to be able to capture user feedback. So I'm going to use Copilot to create the table for that also. So create an app for users to leave feedback on my last app. So let's create that. So it has generated a table for us with ID, user ID, rating, comment, and date of feedback. So obviously user ID should actually be like a lookup to the user table. But as I said, I'm keeping things simple on this app. So let's just create the app. So I'll save it and publish it. And then we'll check it out in the solution. So in the solution, you can see it has created another table for us for the user feedback. We also created an app, but we don't really need the app since both the feedback and the item request are just going to be inside the item request app. But it has helped us save time by creating the user feedback app for table for us, and then you can add in any customizations to the table that you need. Now we are back on the original item request app. Let me rename this one to request screen. I also want to add another screen to serve as a page for the user feedback. So let's add that screen. The PowerApps Studio Copilot allows you to interact with your app using text. Then its AI uses that to make changes to your app. So let's test it out. I want to add another screen for the feedback. So I can just simply describe that in Copilot chat. So add the feedback screen. And right away, you can see it has added the screen for us and renamed it. So if you don't see this, you just need to, if you don't see the Copilot chat, you need to just click this button at the top here and it should be visible. Then if you don't see the Copilot button at the top, it needs to be enabled as a feature on the PowerApps environment. So this Copilot enables you to add different controls, modify existing controls, and even its values. So let's try a use case now. A layout I particularly like is the one where you have the sidebar on the left and then the page content on the right. So we can use Copilot to generate that layout for us using the containers. So I've just described what Copilot should do. You should add a horizontal container, set its x and y value to 0, and then its width and height to fill that of the parent. And then it should have two containers inside, one on the left, one on the right, and I've specified the width on the one on the right. So let's just enter that. And then it generates it for us. You can see it's adding the containers and setting the different values. So it has added a container to fill the page. It has added a left container that I can add in my navigation, side navigation, and then on the right I can add in the actual page content. So stuff like this is what you can use to use the Copilot for. So a misconception a lot of people had when this feature was released was that you could only add in one item at a time. So if it was a button or a text label or a gallery, they just type it, add the button, and then Copilot adds it for you. And the argument was that it's a lot faster if you just add it directly from the insert tab or the insert pane, which I totally get is indeed a lot faster actually. But the thing is, if you combine all your actions or a lot of actions into one AI prompt, it will be a whole lot faster in the long run. Take for instance, if I wanted to build this layout manually, like the way we normally do it, I'd have to add container 1, container 2, container 3, and then do the different configurations to each of those containers. But then I achieved all of that using just one AI prompt, which I guess is a lot faster than doing it one by one. So the thing is that you have to combine a lot of actions or try to combine actions into your prompt to save time. I know the next argument is that the time it takes you to type the prompt, you could have also just used that same time to add the controls directly, which might be true in some cases. But the thing is that it's best to have a prompt catalog where you store all your commonly used prompts, so you can just copy them and paste it whenever you need it. So for instance, this is a layout I mostly do on my apps. So I have this as a prompt where I can just copy and paste it. So copying and pasting is going to take less than 5 seconds actually. And then it does all of this for you, which you would have otherwise used some minutes to do actually. Your prompt catalog can be something as simple as a text file, or you can use an app to store and manage your AI prompt. Dunnam created a really cool prompt catalog app which you can get for free, and it allows you to store and organize your AI prompts for you and your team. I'll add the app link in the description as well as a video on how to use it, so check it out if you're interested. So let's get back to our app build. First, I will add the user feedback table to the app. So user feedback, and then let's copy the whole user feedback app and just paste it. So I'm going to copy the container for the page content. Just Ctrl+C, normal copy, then paste this inside of the root container for this page. Alright, so there are a few errors we need to sort out. It should be as regards the screen name. So since we changed the screen name to feedback screen, let's also change that here. I'm just going to use the find and replace functionality to change it all. So I'm going to change anyway. We have main screen 1 screen. That changes all around here. It's cool. So we can then delete this container we are not using. And there we have it. We already have the user feedback inside of this app. So now that is done, let's begin modifying our app to look more modern and to feel more unique to our different projects. First thing I will do is to set up my custom theme. So I want to use a different theme than this blue and white that we have here. So I'm going to use the named formulas for functionality to set this up. So I'm going to select app, then formulas, then add the theme. So if you watch my previous videos, you would be familiar with me doing this as individual variables, but it's more efficient. I found that it's more efficient to actually set them up as objects rather than individual variables. What I mean was that before I'd set it up as one variable for each different color that we need, but you can just set all of them up as an object variable, which is what I've done here. So I have my custom theme, and then inside of that we have the 3 main colors, which is the primary, secondary, tertiary, that we'll be using on the app. And I've set up color variable and text variables for each of those main colors, because this will be using some custom SVGs on the app, and we need text variable version of our main colors. Then we also have our primary text color, highlight color, and then the colors we'll be using for the hover fill and the pressed fill. So that's the about colors. The next thing are the custom icons that I will use inside of the app. So these are the custom SVG icons that we'll be using on the app. And as I said, we are setting them up as object variables rather than a table variable. This makes it a whole lot more efficient when you're trying to access it, because before, when it was a table variable, you'd have to look up into that table to get the SVG data. But as an object, you can directly get the SVG data, and it's way faster, especially when you have a lot of SVG icons on your app. So these are all the SVG icons that I'm using, a couple of them, and we've set them up already. So if you want to know all about adding SVGs on your app, I've done previous videos this topic, so check out my Modern PowerApps UI series playlist, how to do this. I'll link the video somewhere there, and yeah, that's that. So now that our colors and SVG icons are set up, let's begin adding controls to our screen. The first thing I want to add is a navigation control to move between the screens, so from item request to feedback screen and all of that. So in my previous video, I've already done a tutorial on how to create modern looking site navigation. So I'm just going to import that component into the app here. So let's use the collapsible one. And as usual, all channel members have access to all of the apps from my previous video. So whether you want to just learn how to do it by following along with the videos, or you want to use it for your projects, they're available for download to all channel members. So let's just delete the components that we do not need. That's great. And one thing to know is that when you import components, it also imports images. So if you don't need the image, make sure to delete it. So yeah, let's begin modifying this to fit this project. First of all, since this app will be a single color scheme, let's remove the custom toggle for the for switching the app theme. I'm going to remove that. I also don't want the logo inside of I don't want the logo inside of the sidebar, so I'm going to also delete that. Then let's begin removing custom properties we don't need. So for example, logo custom property, we don't need that. I'm going to delete it. The logo padding percent, we don't need that. I'm going to delete it. The app color mode, we also don't need that since it's just one color mode. So I'm going to delete that also. Cool. Then let's begin correcting all the errors. So most of these errors are because it's trying to access either colors or stuff that we set up for the previous app, but it's not on this app. So let's just relink them to the proper variables in this app. So for the selected icon BG, I want should just be white, so I'm going to set that to color or white. Let's see, the nav BG, I'm going to use the primary color for this. So custom theme, the primary color. So this is the advantage of setting your colors up as object, so you can just have everything directly in one object variable. Then let's see, hover fill. So custom theme, the hover fill, custom theme, hover fill. Remove this custom theme. Okay, cool. Then pressed fill, same thing, custom theme, the pressed fill. That one has an issue. Logo expanded, we don't need that. So I'm going to delete that from there. Then primary text color, so that'll be custom theme, that's primary text color. Which other one? App color mode. Don't need that. I thought I deleted this. The app color mode, we also don't need that since it's just one color mode. So I'm going to delete that also. Cool.
Stupid guy.
App color mode. So that's gone. And yeah, that's about it. Let me also increase the size of the labels. So let's increase that from 8 to 10, since this will be a rather big app. Well, with big components. So yeah, let's also change the label for the name also to 10. So that's cool. So then let's add it to our screen. First, let's do the layout similar to the layout we did on the feedback screen. Let's do something similar for this page. So I'm just going to add in a container, horizontal container, make that fill the screen by setting X and Y to 0, then the width and height to parent the width and parent the height, which is cool. Then let's add in container for the what they call it now, for the sidebar, and then another container for the actual page content. So we already have the container for the page content here, so I'm just going to cut that, paste it inside of the container we added earlier. So first of all, let's change this one. I'm going to turn off flexible width and then set its width to, let's say, 70 for now. I would also clear border radius and drop shadow on all of them. So now let's add in the component that we just created. Custom component, side navigation menu. Then let's change the width of the container to match that of the component so it can expand and collapse when we click on the button. So the width of the container should be side navigation dot width. Cool. So you expand that, you expand along with it. Next thing is to set up the navigation content, the menu content for the navigation menu. So we'll do that as inside of the named formulas. So I've set it up already. So this is the home menu for each of, and it contains a table variable that has all of the menu content. So we have one for the home page, item catalog, request, approvals, and feedback. So this is the advantage here of using using object variables for your icons, because before, if you wanted to link an icon, we'd have to do a lookup to the table, but then since it's an object, we can directly access it using the object variable. So custom icon dot home, custom icon dot home field, that's how you will now easily access your SVG icon. So it's more efficient that way, and it makes the load on your app a whole lot less. So yeah, let's link that to our our navigation now. So the menu contents, that will be home menu. That is cool. So the next thing to do now is to begin changing colors around the app. So let's start from the component. Actually forgot to change this one earlier. So let's change the base icon color. So that will be custom theme dot what's it called now, primary colors. I'm sorry, it's actually secondary color, and we'll do the same for the base icon color underscore text. So secondary color underscore text, and then for the selected icon color, we're going to use the tertiary color, and then the selected icon color underscore text, we're going to use tertiary color underscore text. So it's going to be a dark purple and magenta kind of color scheme. Cool. And I think that looks great. Let's change this one to resend. Is the request page. Yeah, so that's about that. Let's do the rest of the app. But before adding colors around the app, I want to modify the header. So I don't want the header to have a background color, and I want it to be transparent. So I think this is my only issue with this template, is that the background colors were applied to the label and the icon rather than us applying to the container. But I guess there must have been a reason for that. So let's clear the fill for those items. And for the text, I want it to be little black. 16 is fine. And then let's change the color to our primary color, which is primary text color. So primary text color, which is great. This one, let's change it to our tertiary color, which is the magenta. Tertiary color. I also don't want this drop shadow, so let's clear that. Don't want to drop shadow. All right, cool. So then let's begin modifying the blues around the app. So to modify the blues around the app, you can either do it individually, which will actually just take you a whole lot of time for no reason, or you can use the find and replace functionality. So I used this earlier in the video, so I'm just going to explain how it works. So it's just like a normal find and replace that you do in your text document and all, but this time you're doing it on the app. So the text I want to replace is this blue color. So anywhere this blue color is, I want to replace it with my magenta color. So that is what we are finding. And then I want to replace it with my magenta color, which is the tertiary color. So custom theme dot tertiary color. So there is no is it IntelliSense they call it? There's no IntelliSense here, so you have to make sure that what you type is correct. If not, you have to undo and then try. Might be messy, but I think it's still a lot faster than having to do it one by one. So once that is done, replace it. So there are 53 instances across the app, so imagine having to do that one by one. That will have taken so much time, but you've done all of that in just say less than a minute, and that is done. So even if we check the next page also, you see all the blues have been replaced with the our tertiary color, which is magenta, and I think that looks really great. Then you also have to take note of that there are some that you need to change. So like the hover colors now, so the hover colors are a different shade of blue, so you also have to change that. So let's check that out. So hover color, let me just copy that. So hover fill, actually hover color. So hover fill, so this is the shade of blue that we also want to there. So find and replace, so that's what we are changing, but this time instead of replacing it with the tertiary color, I want to replace it with a darker version of the tertiary color. So we are going to do an inverse fade or inverse color fade on that. So that will be color fade, so that's the normal color fade function, and then we are going to do that for minus 20%. So that would do an inverse fade, which is in essence darkening it. So refresh that. So this one is 58, and cool. So you can see now that looks better. Same thing for the icon. So all of the overviews, sorry, all of the overviews have been changed to match that, and that is cool. The next thing I want to change is the font type to later for around the app. So this, most of them are either Sergio UI, or I think there was one other font, or Open Sans. So I'm going to change all of those to later. So let's do the same thing we just did for the color. So what I'm replacing is fonts that Sergio UI. I want to replace it with later. So I want to replace that with later. So 73 instances, now 76, since we just changed this one, and then replace all of those. That's cool. Then do the same thing for Open Sans. So copy that and replace everything later. So just 3 actually, so many. Yeah, and that is cool. Yeah, that's great. The next thing I want to do is to change the background of the screen to a primary color, gray. So I'm going to select the root container and change the fill of that fill property to our primary color. So custom theme dot primary color. And I guess I think okay, this one is white. So let's change this one to transparent. All right, and that looks cool. Then let's add in our logo. So I'm going to add in a logo here besides the it or the app title here. So let's import that. So I'm going to go to the media page. So as I said earlier, when we're importing components, so when you import components, you also import any images you might have used the app. So this ones, I'm just going to delete them since I'm not using it. So now all of those are deleted. Let's import the logo we are using on this app. All right, so that has been imported. Then let's add that to a header here. I'm going to add in an image control, image. So I want to bring that to the start, to be beside name, then change it to the logo, and then I want to set it to stretch to fill the this parent container. I'm setting its minimum height to 0. I think a width of 100 is fine, and I would add in just a little bit of top and bottom padding so it can be a little bit smaller. Also, I think the header is a little too big for me, so I'm going to just reduce that from 68 to 50 so it can look a little bit more compact and cleaner. Yeah, and that looks really cool. So the next thing I want to do is to add a bit of drop shadow to our site navigation, just to give a little bit of distinction between the page content and the navigation. So I'm going to select its container and add in a semi-bold drop shadow, and I think that looks great actually. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, then I want to change the form headers text from Lato to Lato black, so this will just give distinction or more distinction from the form header and the actual form content. And yeah, that looks cool. The next thing, I want to move the connectivity icon from the header to the sidebar, because yeah, I don't think there's any reason. I just think it looks cool that way. So let's copy that, and we're going to paste it inside here, but we need to add the container first. So I'm going to add the container, the horizontal container, vertical container, anyone works since it's just one item we're adding. I'm going to move it up by 1. Then I want it to be 50 or 40 actually. The width should be 40, the height should also be 40. And then I don't want a border radius, I also don't want a drop shadow. Then I can paste what we copied earlier. Then for this one, I'm going to clear its right padding, and I want it to fill the container. So I'm going to leave its alignment as stretch, set the minimum height to 0, and then I'm going to turn on flexible width and set the minimum width to 0. Cool. Let me just add in a top and bottom padding also. So that will just make it a little bit smaller. And yeah, let's test that out. Yeah, that's cool. I don't like that border. So I'm going to remove the border since I don't think it. Yeah, that's cool. So that's fine. Let's remove this one since we don't need it anymore. So I've deleted it. And yeah, I think we can also change the border of our image control from this black to our magenta. So I'm just going to change this one to selected icon color. Yeah, so that's pink. Let me also increase it to 3 so it can just be a little more prominent. Yeah. I think this is good. This is good.
Yeah, boy.
The next thing is the gallery. Now I think the gallery actually looks okay, so I'm not going to make so many changes to it, but I've done a video on how to do modern gallery designs, so check that out if you're interested. But for this, I'm just going to change its content. So rather than it showing the quantity, I want it to show the request ID. Okay, and let me also change the arrow from this color to our magenta. So custom theme dot tertiary color. So yeah, I think that's sufficient. Okay, cool. The next thing I'll modify is the form. But before that, it has come to my attention that 82% of viewers are not subscribed to the channel. If you've at least learned something in this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel to stay notified whenever I release new content. So let's get back to our video now. So as for the form, you can actually keep things simple if that's the direction you want to go. Let me change this to a 2-column layout, and then I'm just going to reorder reorder the content to match what I want. So moving request ID to the top, and move requester also to the top, item name, item quantity. Yeah, and that looks, I think that looks all right. I'm also going to set all of them to have a width fit of true, and so setting width fit to true, just so that the status can fill the bottom. Let's see. So for the dates, I actually just want it to be a date column, so I don't need the time. So let me just unlock this, and then we are going to delete the time since we don't need it. So I'm going to delete the hour, the separator, and minutes. So delete that. Then by this one is the date value rather than the, this one just positional stuff, so it should be fine. And then for the update values, I'm going to change that to just use the dates rather than the date time. That looks better. Then I'm going to set the width of this to brand of -60, just so you can fill its original space. And then I'm going to do the same thing for fulfillment date. Next thing I want to do is to change the form header. So instead of just 006, I want it to say request number 006, and I think, yeah, that looks way better than just 006. And yeah, you can decide to just end it here, because I think this looks actually really cool and really great. But then if you want to take things further, I created a video on how to do what they call it, modern form layout, so you can check it out if you're interested. But we are going to do something similar in this project. So before that, let me just change the background color of the form from white to transparent, and then let's begin adding components. And now I'm done with the custom form layout, and you can see that looks way better to compare to what we had before. And also test it out, and yeah, so everything is working as expected. Now if you compare this to what we had at the beginning, this looks way better to the base template. While that looked great, this looks way better. So I guess that's about it. But before we end the video, I want to just touch on responsiveness. So I'm not going to go into detail too much, but then since this app is built as a responsive app, if you want to keep it responsive, obviously you have to, put some things in place depending on what you need. For instance, on the tab layout, if you want this to be double double column, so you'd have to set that on this for this view. And on the mobile view, I think the mobile view will be fine with just one, but then we obviously do not need this kind of sidebar on the mobile view, so you'd have to hide this one and then do a mobile navigation bar, a separate mobile navigation bar at the bottom, and make that only visible when the when the view is in the mobile form factor. So that is actually a whole separate video on this, but if you want to learn more about responsive design and all of those, let me know in the comments below, and we would work on that. Now obviously we still have the feedback screen, but I'm just going to copy and I'm just going to duplicate the request screen and just change the title. Can't be bothered.
Lazy.
That brings us to the end of the first video in this PowerApps Copilot series. In the next video, we will learn how to use Copilot to design unique interfaces for our different PowerApps projects. If you've enjoyed this video or at least learned something, please like the video and also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button to get notified when I release the next video in the series. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.